이러지?
전 별종인가 봐요. 손이 굉장히 차거든요.
얘가 왜 이러지?
I think that this scene shocks Western viewers. They may feel that the scene is very violent. However, if this anger had not been described metaphorically, direct action against humans would have been unavoidable.
Despite the calming effect of his wriggly supper, Old Boy's quest for truth soon embroils him in direct actions against humans, in one long, glorious take. "15 years in a dingy motel room without human contact or even satellite TV has turned the Old Boy into a lean, mean hammer of vengeance."
The decision to shoot it as one long take was chosen during filming. What is necessary here is not a dazzling combat scene, but an expression of old Dae-soo's isolation, solitude and fatigue. Although he had to fight, the fighting is meaningless, since these sluggards are not his real enemy. I thought that was more important to transmit this feeling.
To a country that suffered a century of war and occupation, violence is a fact of life. Park's endlessly inventive depictions of this violence are the opposite of exploitation. They feel more like cheerless resignation.
To me, when I use violence in my movies, it's to describe pain that is true to nature. I seek to show how violence leaves a painful scar, not only physically, but also psychologically, on both assailant and victim. In order to do so, I sometimes need to portray realistic pain.
In the past decade, Korean cinema has completely reinvented itself. Whereas imports once dominated the box office here, Koreans now far prefer the homegrown variety. And cinema attendance is steadily on the rise. The number of screens in Korea has almost tripled in the past 8 years. In addition, Korea is now exporting 10 times as many films as it did in the early 90s. Now, while many Korean directors, such as Park Chan-wook, are making artistic statements about the human condition, there are also plenty of mindless thrills about. The high-octane, this one goes to 11 type of film, for which Korea's Asian brethren have long been admired. Nowhere to Hide is a super stylish action thriller that borrows heavily from just about every decent pop video and crime film of the last 10 years. Yet still manages to throw in enough new ideas of its own to feel fresh and original. The story itself is hardly original, about a tough cop. But this film isn't about plot or even character. No, this film has a visual style that makes the Coen brothers look like the Nolan sisters. Believe it or not, all these scenes are from the same film. But rather than feeling disjointed, Nowhere to Hide keeps you almost literally glued to the screen. By the way, the Korean title of this film translates as "I don't give a shit about anything." After completing this remarkable calling card, director Lee Myung-se tried his luck in America. Unable to launch a project there after several years, he's now returned to Korea. and we eagerly await his next opus. Another film that helped kickstart the Hallyu relies less on visual pizzazz and more on humour, rock and roll and good old-fashioned slapstick. Attack the Gas Station is a wild, low-budget action thriller that brings to mind the early work of John Carpenter, inevitably Quentin Tarantino and even Guy Ritchie. But of course, it's Korea.
준비됐냐? 가자.
If ever a film delivered on the simple promise of its title, it is Attack the Gas Station. The attackers decide to take over the gas station for the night. So when corrupt cops expect to gas up without paying, they learn that the new manager doesn't take this sort of thing lying down.
너 듣고 싶어 한장에서 너 자식아 저거 너 뭐야 너 미쳤어 임마
돈 내놔요.
뭐야 돈이라니 무슨 돈
기름을 넣었으면 돈을 줘야 될 거 아니에요.
나 이런 꼴통 새끼 봤나 너 한번 혼나볼래 아니 뭐 이런 새끼가 다 있어 이거 나와 이 새끼야 나와 이 새끼 뭐라 나와 이 새끼야 안 나와 너 좀 나와라 임마 나와 이 새끼야 나 미치겠네 진짜 얼마야
62,000원.
Korea's painful struggle from Japanese occupation to civil war to military rule to, finally, democracy is reflected in its movies, not only directly, but also in its tales of everyday human struggles. In a city as teeming with life as this is, there are thousands, if not millions, of stories worth telling. Stories about regular human beings in unusual circumstances. And the master of that kind of movie must surely be Ki-Duk. "45-year-old Ki-Duk didn't go the film school route. In fact, he had little academic training at all. After studying art in Paris, he returned to Seoul in the mid-90s and started making films on a shoestring. Since then, he's been relentlessly prolific, knocking out 12 features in a decade. Kim has become an international critics' darling, winning awards at many major festivals, including Berlin and Venice. I exaggerate not when I assert that the totally unconventional Ki-Duk is like no other director on the world stage.
저는 이제 영화를 만들 때 가장
The most important element for me in making films is the location. With the location as my top priority. What follows then are the characters, narrative, and style. If there are really important props or sets needed, I will produce them or find them myself. I also do my own location scouting. I write my own scenarios, which can be changed at any time during shooting.
Spring, summer, autumn, winter and spring is known as Ki-Duk's Buddhist film. Set on a floating monastery, it compares the literal seasons to the seasons of life. Now, hang on, I think I know what you're thinking. It sounds naff, but actually, it's utterly zen-tastic. It was filmed over a full year, the production stopping and starting again when the seasons changed.